Do you know what a Foley artist is? When you're rewatching a TV show or a movie and you hear a character open a door, hit a light switch, slam a glass down on a table, plunge a knife into another person, etc., you're hearing the work of a Foley artist. They recreate the desired sounds for a scene and insert them into the soundtrack during the editing process. Very little of what you hear while watching film or TV was recorded at the same time as what you re-seeing. Most of it is added after the fact. If you ever want to take yourself out of a show or movie, focus in on the little sounds that you would usually take for granted. Suddenly, they will begin to sound very blatantly artificial. I'm not someone who would usually notice stuff like that. I wouldn't call myself a film buff, and I've never worked in the entertainment industry, but I do enjoy a good cheesy sitcom now and again. When I saw that the new show Mind the Gap was made available on streaming last week, it looked right up my alley. I had no intention of analyzing the sound work for the show then, and now I wish that I had just skipped it and watched Friends again for the 100th time. I got home from work at around 8 o'clock last Wednesday. I kicked my shoes off, made myself a quick and dirty struggle meal, then plopped down on the couch in front of the TV. The first episode of Mind the Gap was queued up and ready to go, and as I pressed play, I took a scoop of the food in my bowl. The metal spoon scraped against the edge of the ceramic, making a sound that would have annoyed my girlfriend Lauren if she had been there when it happened. I missed her a lot. The episode began with a silly theme song, and then got right into the characters making stupid jokes in their apartment. It was so cliché that it even had a laugh track, but I enjoyed that kind of thing. It was nostalgic to me, and even comforting in a way. I was enjoying myself quite a bit, till about 10 minutes into the episode. That was when I noticed something that tore all of those feelings away from me and replaced them with paranoia and creeping dread. One of the characters, Dave, was eating cereal out of a bowl while his friend Bob was monologuing about some dumb idea for an invention that he had come up with. What disturbed me was that when Dave put his spoon into his bowl, it made the exact sound that my spoon had made in my bowl. I know that this sounds ridiculous, but it was the exact same sound, I was certain. I paused the show for a moment, thought about how strange it was that the sounds were seemingly identical, then quickly collected myself. I convinced myself that I must just be tired, that the sounds weren't really exactly the same. That would be impossible. After all, how different could the sounds of two different spoons scraping against two different bowls really be? They were sure to sound at least somewhat alike. I shook off that uneasy feeling and pressed play again. Then, a character named Sarah opened the door of the apartment and walked into the room with Bob and Dave. I paused the show again and stood straight up. The sound of the door and the sound of the footsteps on the floor were precisely the same as the sound of my apartment door and my footsteps when I walked through the entrance. I walked over to my door, opened it, then shut it. The sound was exactly the same. My hands were trembling as I picked up my shoes to put them back on my feet. I walked outside the door, shut it, opened it, and walked through the entrance as I had just an hour or so before. The sounds were completely identical to what I had heard in the show, down to the wavelength. It wasn't possible, but I was sure of what I'd heard. I felt a pang of terror and decided that I had better call it an early night and go to bed before I could think about it any further. And so I did. Before I went to sleep, I texted Lauren with shaking hands, asking how she was doing and how long it was going to be until she came home. She was studying abroad for the summer, and I hadn't seen her in 2 months. She replied with a voice message. I'm going to be staying here for a while. I got a job voice acting, can you believe it? They say I've got a real knack for it. We can talk about it later. Couldn't believe it. When was I going to see her again? Why wouldn't she talk to me about this first? This was all just too much for me, so I decided to put my phone down and I tried to get some well-needed rest. When I got home from work again the next day, I repeated the same routine and started Mind the Gap from where I had left off. Laughed to myself a little when I thought about the night before. What had I been thinking? So what if the sounds were similar to my own apartment? It was just a TV show. Maybe the people who made the sound effects lived in an apartment very similar to mine and used utensils and bowls like the ones that I owned. So what? Then all of the feelings from the previous night